Hello, everyone. My name is Boris, and today we will be talking about the Waffle library. Out of curiosity, have you ever heard about the Waffle library and file uploads? Oh, I see a couple of hands here. Okay, so I'm the Waffle maker or Waffle maintainer or creator of the Waffle library, and today we going to discuss how to upload, store, and process files, and how Waffle can help you with its advanced features. And also, I want to mention what's coming into the next version of the Waffle library. And the brief summary for someone who haven't heard about the library, it is GitHub repositories elixir-waffle/waffle with about 700 stars. Couple of millions uploads on HexPM, some mentions on Elixir forum, guys from ElixirCast, Full Stack Phoenix, also Elixir podcast. I was invited to Elixir podcast and mentioned the Waffle library here with some extra details, and also huge kudos to the original repository called Arc. It was quite popular library with Elixir community file uploads, and when maybe 5 years ago I was starting to get deeper into Elixir, I discovered that unfortunately this library wasn't updating and had a lot of open pull requests, so I merged the pull requests and maintained the library since then. Okay, so what is how Waffle can help you with your needs and production needs? So let's say that you want to apply transformation to a file, or you want to manage access rules and generate URLs for your files. You also may want to save it into a database, and you may also want to do a bunch of different things. For example, manage browser cache to reset it on if file changes, do async processing, etc. So what is the Waffle library? Waffle library consists of the Waffle library itself. It also has Waffle Ecto to integrate Waffle with Ecto, and it also has a bunch of adapters. So it has S3 and local adapters integrated into the library itself, but there is also plenty of community libraries from the community to work with GCP, Azure, and other things. Okay, so let's imagine that you have a file. So the Waffle works when you already have a file. How you get a file is not a part of the responsibility of a Waffle. You may want to use allow uploads from live view or a different mechanism to get the file, but basically a file can be a binary, a path, or a URL. And then once you have this binary, you just cast attachments with your change set. And basically what it does is that when you save your record into a database, it will have a string column, and it will look like this, basically the file name plus the timestamp when the file was saved. And also the actual processing happens when you save your struct into a database. When you save your struct into a database, there is a Waffle that's time for the Waffle library. Previously it was Waffle Ecto, and now we are on the Waffle. So Waffle is responsible to validate, transform, and store your files. And then when we're going to store your file, there is an adapter which is responsible for managing access roles, access lists, and generating the URL. Basically, it's very easy to write your own adapter if you have your custom needs. It's basically a simple module which implements put, delete, and URL functions. Okay, so I know you are quite tired because it's almost a recent talk on today's conference, so bear with me and I will just show you briefly a couple of code examples. So let's say what would be the MVP. So the MVP is an uploader to hold everything that I mentioned together. So to create an uploader, the first thing to define is if you want to integrate with the Ecto module. With the Ecto library, you define import Ecto definition, and then in your Sorry, yeah. And then in your schema, you will automatically have a custom time created for this uploader. The file is basically casts custom data structure into a string and loads a string back into a data structure. And then you call cast attachments. You may want to decide that you want to accept file path, URLs, etc. So the next part is of our MVP uploader would be actually the Waffle definition. So the Waffle definitions bring you some very quality of life features. For example, you can define what kind of rules for your upload would be. You can disable, enable async processing, but also you can create validation rules. A small note about validation rules. I know that many, like the default approach for Elixir is to do file validation by extension, which not always the correct approach, because you may actually want to look inside the file to determine that it has the right content. Usually it's done with magic bytes. I have open pull request into the Waffle library, which does file validation with magic bytes. In a nutshell, it calls the file Linux utility to get the content type, and then it uses MIME Elixir dependency to basically convert this content type into file extensions. Yeah, so the next thing apart from validation would be to actually the transformations. The Waffle supports rich syntax for transformation. For example, you can pass the Linux utility and pass arguments for this image magic utility to auto-orient and strip metadata, because you probably don't want to keep the metadata of the file. But it can also support advanced transformation, for example, multi-step transformation, when you can basically run a custom function for your transformation. And the last thing is, once you validated, processed the file, you want to store it. So you create a storage directory, and the small tip, when you want to use the user ID, for example, in your file path, it means that if you can't generate IDs in advance, so you need to save it first to get the ID. So you need to use the transaction, where in like first step of the multi transaction, you will save the struct, get the ID, and after then you will can call cast attachments to get the ID in storage directory. And some adapters support extra features. For example, you may want to have a different storage directory than the URL. So Waffle also supports that. The last slide, so what coming in future Waffle versions, I want to bring GCP integration into the core library, probably have all major providers as part of the Waffle library defined as adapters, and, but it will not bring extra dependency unless you specifically want to work with this specific adapter. Improve the documentation and examples. Yeah, thank you so much for listening. This is URL for the presentation, and yeah, thanks so much.